Hi everyone and welcome to Weather for Weather Geeks, the Tuesday evening edition here for January 19th, 2016. We've got a lot to talk about, of course, over the next several days. We're going to be tracking a couple of systems. One very minor, and the other one a big deal for many, many people, but probably not us. So let's get right to that. First of all, 18 degrees the high for today, second straight day in the teens, third day in the teens for highs this month. Overall, the month is shaking out to be fairly typical of January. We've had a handful of above-average days and a little bit more below-average days. So as a whole, about half a degree below average for the month. When we look at these numbers, as far as above or below average, this counts the highs and the lows. Now, just the highs are displayed on the calendar here, but the average temperature, 0.4 below average, that takes into account the low temperatures as well. As far as the current temperatures, it's cold outside, but it's not very windy anymore, so the wind chill not much different than the actual temperature. I recorded this at about, let's see, it's 7:15 p.m. It was 11 in Youngstown, 14 in Pittsburgh, 15 in Cleveland, and there's a whole lot of cold air across the country this evening. You know, this is just kind of a typical January map. Nothing unusual at all. Here's where the worst of the cold is. No surprise, up near the Arctic Circle. What else is new? All right, across the country this evening, a couple of things that your eye is drawn towards. Here's tomorrow's minor system heading across the Mississippi River. This out here is the beginnings of what will become a big East Coast and Mid-Atlantic snow event, a crippling snowstorm for some people. So let's start talking about the future. Here's Futurecast. As we go through the overnight, high pressure is in control. After a fairly clear evening, clouds will increase later tonight. I've stopped the clock here at midday on Wednesday. I do think that there'll try to be some light snow that tries to push in, even though it's much more, consistent down to the south. There can be a little bit of light snow tomorrow afternoon pushing in, and this could coat the ground in some places, but most of it's coming during daylight hours, so I think the roads are fine. You just might have to brush off your car, or might be a few slick spots on sidewalks and that sort of thing. No big deal. By tomorrow night into Thursday, high pressure returns, and that means a calm period for us on Thursday. We'll see a mix of sun and clouds. Now, Futurecast ends here Friday morning. Our storm taking shape off to our south. Snow getting into parts of southern Ohio Friday morning, Cincinnati, Marietta, Parkersburg, heading over towards Morgantown, West Virginia. And then the big question is what happens after this. This eventually is going to transfer its energy to the coast. It's just a matter of where exactly that's going to happen. Here's a look at the 18,000-foot level. And all the reds and orange here, this is what we call vorticity or spin in the atmosphere. The beginnings of the East Coast storm, fairly innocuous. It's this piece of energy right here. We can trace this then as we go forward. It's going to emerge out of the Rockies and start to form a storm out across the middle of the country. By Thursday evening, our storm system is right here and gaining strength. As we go then into Friday, look at this thing blast off with the circles becoming tighter. This is a full-blown nor'easter forming for parts of the mid-Atlantic states with this position of this upper-level low down near Columbia, South Carolina. So this is Friday night, Saturday morning, and then the storm starts to move up the East Coast. All right, so what does this mean as far as the actual weather? Now, this is the European model's depiction of snowfall. Look at this bullseye across parts of Virginia. Maybe parts of West Virginia, maybe even northwest North Carolina. You look up at the color bar here, and we're up into the 2-foot range across parts of Virginia, maybe even 2.5 feet. And this is going to be very close call to maybe being a crippling snowstorm for D.C. and Baltimore, and then question marks as you go off to the north. Now, this is the European model. When the European model came in this morning, it was quite a bit different than previous runs of the same model and also some of the other modeling. But this is the trend that most of the modeling is taking, this farther south route. Notice the European has nothing for us up here in Youngstown. That's the European model. The GFS has a little more snow here. The operational run of the GFS does, but I'll tell you, the ensembles, which I'm showing you here, now these are a little hard to see, but this is 21 different versions of the GFS model. When you hear me talk about ensembles, if you're not familiar with this idea, basically, we can't give the models perfect information. We can't feed the models perfect information about the current state of the atmosphere. The science just isn't there. So these ensembles you take a base version of the model and then tweak it X number of times. In the GFS case, it's 21 times. You tweak humidity levels and temperatures and pressures and all the meteorological variables to account for the inherent errors that are going to go into the initialization of the model. And then it's run over and over again with these different tweaks each time. Well, with all these tweaks, here's the afternoon version of the GFS Ensemble. Almost every member of the GFS Ensemble is a miss for us. Notice it prints out almost no snow. You don't get into the blues at all in Northeast Ohio and Western PA, except for this run right here, and that is about it. About 1 out of 21. Maybe you can count this one down here. So this is the direction that the modeling is taking. It's the trend that is underway, and it's a trend that we have to pay a lot of attention to and really start focusing our forecasts in that direction, because the trend is your friend in meteorology a lot of times. As far as the map showing snow potential here in the blue, that's the bullseye for the most likely area for heavy snow. You know, you look here at our viewing area, and I've still got us in the snow possible category. I'm not going to shut the door on us getting accumulating snow at this point, but with the model trends this morning and into this afternoon, it's becoming less and less likely that we see accumulating snow across our viewing area. So our winter storm confidence in the storm track is, I put it at a medium. There's still some room for error, certainly, but the big picture idea of a farther south trend is something that we definitely have to pay attention to. Storm timing, high confidence on this. If we get snow out of this, if we were to get snow, it would be late Friday into Friday night, maybe first thing Saturday morning. If we do get precipitation, it would be all snow, no concerns with any mixing. Medium confidence on the snow amounts. I'm not going to put that in the high category just yet until we take a look at tonight's models and see if the trends continue. I suspect they will, but for now we'll keep that in the medium confidence zone. All right, so a little bit of a different kind of a graphic here. I painted two areas in our viewing area, the southeastern part and the northwestern part. In the southeastern part, I have 50-50 chance of getting up to 2 inches worth of snow out of this. This includes Columbiana, East Liverpool, Lisbon, Newcastle, Mercer, Grove City. And then 45% chance you get 2 to 4 inches, and a very slim chance of 4 inches plus. Now, if you're a snow lover, these numbers are probably still a little too optimistic. I suspect I'll be making these numbers lower as we go into tonight and into tomorrow. But this, as a first stab, not totally discounting some of the modeling that does bring the snow up, even though those models are becoming fewer and fewer. Now, for the northwestern part of our viewing area, including Youngstown, Austintown, Boardman, Poland, Canfield, Sharon, Greenville, Niles, Mespo, etc., your chances of getting up to 2 inches, 70%, but notice zeros in that too. So your chance of 70% of somewhere between 0 and 2 inches, probably leaning towards 0 at this point, with much lower chances of seeing more than 2 inches. All right, so that's what's going on with the snow at the end of the week, looking much more like no big deal at all. In fact, a lot of us might not even see a flake. The longer range. You're going to like the trends if you don't like the cold. We're certainly looking at a period that will feature more and more above average temperatures as we roll into the final stages of January and then especially into early February. Groundhog Day could be a mild one. Here's the climate model showing the temperature departures from average from the 29th through the morning of the 3rd of February. This map looks a lot like December did. Now, I don't expect this trend to last all of February, but the month of February should start out on a mild note. Whatever snow is on the ground will probably melt. All right, much more on everything that's going on in the weather over the next several days on my social media accounts. Be sure you're following me there if you're not already. My weather blog is ericwfmj.com. Update that every morning and evening. And of course, tonight at 11, I'll have a fresh 7-day forecast and all sorts of other good stuff on 21 News at 11 o'clock. I will see you then.